Before we begin, let me give you a housekeeping announcement. You might have heard of it. And before we begin, we do not want to hear the message alarm. So if possible, would you put it in the vibration or no sound silent mode? If you turn it off, I'm gonna really appreciate that. On your way to this hall, I believe that you are given a booklet or book, and all that information is contained in the book. And you might have received a survey. Would you please fill out the survey so that we can make a better forum later on based on your feedback? So on your way out, please give it back. We have some souvenirs or gift as well. So don't forget to pick it up on your way out. And most of the presentation will be in Korean, so I don't think you need to use a interpretation service. But if you want to hear English, you can listen to the interpretation. And if somebody speaks English, you might want to listen to Korean. So put the earpiece and set the channel to 1 to listen to Korean.
You can use the interpreting device in front of you and tune into channel 2.
네, 이렇게 그러면 슬슬 이제 본격적으로
Okay, let's begin the session now. I believe that today's session is very interesting to all of you. This is a session held by the Jeju City and then sponsored by the Jeju Business Agency. And under the theme of the Beyond Conflict Towards Peace and Cooperation, we are going to talk about design. And I'm going to moderate the session. Very good to see all of you. Since we are in Jeju, we are going to talk about Jeju environment and design. That's going to be the topic, which may interest all of you. Thank you for coming to listen to this topic. Climate change will continue and it will escalate, drawing our attention. We need to come up with response measures, and try to adapt ourselves to that. And against that background, we need to find a way to go forward. And I believe this will provide us venue to think about it. And do you know who held a meeting? But this is organized by Jeju Business Agency, which plays a very important role in Jeju. SMEs or small business people, whenever they run difficulties or challenges, they may rely on Jeju Business Agency. And they have a lot of programs to help them to find the buyers. And especially they run design programs as well. And this is a public organization. And we have the president of that important organization, and the president will introduce that organization to you, and he will deliver a welcome speech. So President Oh Jae-yoon, the president of Jeju Business Agency, Oh Jae-yoon, will deliver a welcome speech. The opening speech.
Welcome, everyone. I am the president of Jeju Business Agency, Oh Jae-yoon. Thank you for coming here and joining us out of your busy schedule. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank our representative, Kang Yeon-ho from Jeju Council Agriculture, Livestock and Economy Committee. Thank you for coming here out of your busy schedule. And we also have presenters and panelists. Among them is our Tyler Lash. Thank you for joining us. Professor Choi Sung-kwon and Professor Lee In-ho, Professor Lee Sung-ho, CEO Lee Kyung-mi, and Manager Lee In-sung. Thank you for joining us today. And President Hyun Seung-min of Design Association and all the attendees, thank you very much for joining us today. The Jeju Business Agency is an organization that helps SMEs and self-employed people, providing them with some fund and opportunity to export their products and work on their design to enhance their business stability and growth. As you are well aware, today, this is the era of design. From your home to the streets and cities and offices, and also products design guarantees success. Therefore, the agency is also focusing on design by providing a lot of support to help the industry grow further. Once again, thank you everyone for coming, and I hope that the session can become very productive and meaningful, contributing to the development of the design industry. That concludes my speech. Thank you, everyone.
계속
Thank you. Please give him a big hand. And next time when you launch a business, you may want to contact him. Now, without further ado, let me introduce another important speaker from the Jeju Agricultural Livestock and Economic Committee. Actually, he is a chairman or commissioner of that organization, Kang Yeon-ho. He will deliver a congratulation remark. Thank you. Thank you for coming. As introduced, I am from the Jeju Agricultural Livestock and Economic Committee. Let me give my greeting once again. Environment is something that we cannot neglect anymore. In every corner of the society, we have pioneers, experts, and we are gathered together to talk about the future value of Jeju. Thank you. Environment and design will be the main topic for today's session. And I personally believe that this is a very meaningful chance for us to think about that important theme. We have a clean Jeju as our motto. And especially my special thanks goes to the President Jeju Business Agency who sponsored this event. For the development of design industry of Jeju, many efforts are provided by all those stakeholders, and thank you very much for your support. I am one of the person or people who think about the conservation of environment in Jeju, and in that background, we will talk about the Jeju and design industry. The future of Jeju is in your hand, and I believe that thanks to you, our design industry will be prosper. For the future of the design industry of Jeju, I hope you provide all the support which we need. As for the Jeju Council, we try to tackle the environmental issues together with those people in the design industry. Thank you. Thank you so much. I believe that we will go to the lectures without further ado. First, Greenpeace East Asia Seoul office manager will deliver the first lecture or presentation, Mr. Lee In-sung, and he is in charge of the climate and energy project, and he is involved in many or different activities for the sake of better climate and energy. Thank you. It was she rather than he. Sorry.
안녕하세요.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I am the project manager, climate and energy project manager of Greenpeace East Asia Seoul office. The theme of my presentation today is the power of green default. To talk about the policy design for our future. Design is a technology that can determine what and how. So design includes plans and purpose as well. The objective of design can be system and also an object or item. I have thought about what is good design. My answer is 5 factors. Right context, right purpose, availability, and fixability, long-term usage, and ultimately, without any harm. This is my definition of design. I'm starting this presentation with the definition of design because to have a good design, we need to understand the current situation and reality. You are well aware there are growing extreme weather events, floods, heat waves, and torrential rain. These extreme events have always been unprecedented. This is not just true for Korea. A great flood in Pakistan, and almost all the rivers in the world have suffered drought. This is the climate disaster. Compared to pre-industrial era, the temperature has increased by 1.6 degrees Celsius, and Korea's temperature increase speed is 2 times faster than the world average. It is irreversible socioeconomic result and damage. This is not just about the environment, and the disaster is affecting the vulnerable people who are less responsible for this situation. So this is not just an environmental issue, it is a rather social issue. Healthcare, food crises, and refugees increasing. Many countries are not functioning very well, and this is leading to crisis of democracy as well. Many scientists say that by the end of this century, we need to keep the temperature increase under 1.5 degrees Celsius. But unfortunately, even if all the countries reach their goals for emission reduction, it is very hard to keep the temperature rise promise. Today, it is very likely that we would see 2.4 degrees Celsius increase by the end of this century. 99% of the plants under the sea would go extinct, and yields would also decrease dramatically, and this is just a conservative prediction. Things can become even worse, and many scientists are also renewing their prediction because to reflect worsening situation. The global warming is growing faster than we predicted, but our actions are too slow. IPCC last year published the 6th report, and with this current speed, compared to pre-industrial level, the temperature rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius would come by about 2030, not the end of this century. 3 years ago, in 2018, IPCC also made another prediction, and the new prediction is 10 years earlier than the previous one. Many scientists all say that we need a systematic and urgent changes. This is a red code for humanity. And the situation, Jeju Island can be a good example for carbon neutrality. The Korean government announced in 2020 it will achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, and last year increased its goal for carbon reduction. But rather than announcement, what's more important is action plan. The plan itself is really good, but it is not good enough compared to the urgency. The cause of climate change is greenhouse gas emissions. In order to reduce the emissions, we need to focus on the energy sector to remove carbon. And the important part is to reduce fossil fuel energy use. But we have not been doing very good in reducing fossil fuel energy and increasing renewable energies. According to a recent government project report, the government lowered its goal of the share of renewable by a large margin. The number used to be about 30%, but it is now about 20%. The climate policy of Korea is not enough to help people, make people healthier. So we need more commitment from the government. IEA also said that the key is energy transition by 2050. In order to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, developed countries need to achieve net zero in electricity by 2035. In this situation, this reality, the Korean government is not feeling the urgency. It is just maintaining the previous system. This year marks a 10th year since Jeju announced its 2030 ambition, energy and transportation transition with EVs and new industries. Those categories are the key projects of Jeju. And in renewable energy, we are seeing great results. The facility has increased, and the power generated has also been increasing to 18% in the energy mix. It is a lot higher than the Korea's average of 7%. In 2010, Jeju Island was used to rely on fossil fuel, especially oil, but wind power and renewables have replaced oil. But unfortunately, we are seeing some caps in renewables. Renewables have a lot of volatility. When we have strong wind, when we have a strong sunlight, we get more power, but vice versa with less sunlight or less wind. Today's power grid is focused on fossil fuel and traditional energy with stable supply. Power grid is like a water pipeline. When there is too much power, the pipeline cannot support that much amount. So stable supply and stable generation is important. Therefore, if we increase renewable energy generation and have the traditional one unchanged, then pipeline would get stressed out. Renewable energy is described as a surplus one and not very efficient one by some people. It is unfortunate. By developing renewables, we can have carbon zero society earlier than we expected. Now we have enough technology to generate renewables, but we don't really have enough facility or infrastructure to support it. With this new renewable system, the traditional system can work as a limitation. And as a designer, to become very creative, what's important is to change the traditional things. Jeju has been leading the carbon zero project, and now it's time for us to adopt a new concept, and this leads to green default. My idea is that we can set renewable as our default, and there is a study regarding this. There are two Swiss energy company, and they changed the structure of energy mix. So they set 100% renewable as default. As a result, the two companies successfully increased the share of renewable consumer to 80%. So the idea is to let consumers to opt out renewables if they don't want them. And it is very meaningful because renewable program, the price was 15% higher than the traditional one. Still, consumer remained in the default system, renewable system, and they believe that that's what they wanted. So this is a dramatic result, and this is something that they would not achieve without renewable as a default. This is a graph with annual carbon dioxide emission and share of electricity from renewables. Can you see where Korea is? Compared to Germany, our emission is lower than them. But in 2020, 2010, and 2020, you can see the emission is growing in South Korea thanks to industrialization and economic growth. Per capita CO2 emission has increased and has doubled, but electricity share of electricity from renewables remain the same. So we should not say renewable is the cause of the problem. So we should understand that the key to this problem is to change the traditional system. We need to grow renewables, store them in a very innovative way, and we need to remove the fossil fuel energy. This is what we should pursue. Policies should also be reshaped and renewed to reduce fossil fuel and increase renewables. using more renewables is not just about changing the energy we use. Rather, we can also engage our citizens and residents in the process. Can you see the coin on the slide? This is a €2 coin made to celebrate its 10th year, and it has 5 symbols. Among them is wind farm. This shows the importance of energy transition in European citizens' mind. By 2030, we have only 8 years. I hope Jeju's initiative can be supported by more people, and I hope Jeju can practice its policies with a lot of creativity to have more experience on developing renewable energies than any other people, to design a new standard for net zero. By then, both human and the ecosystem will be able to enjoy the future on this beautiful Jeju Island. Thank you.
Thank you so much. She was from Greenpeace. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Now, we are going to invite more experts to talk about Jeju environment and the design industry, how we can go ahead with the development and conservation and sustainability. And before the discussion, we will have 2 more lectures. First is from the Professor Jae Sung-kwon. He will be talking about 3D printing. And second lecture will be delivered by Cyfix CEO Lee Kyung-mi. And would you please come to the podium, the first presenter first. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming all the way to join us today. I'm given only like 10 minutes, but as for the detailed information, you can find it in the booklet given to you. I do not think I have enough time to finish my presentation, so for the rest of the information, please refer to the booklet. I was with the Ewha University before, but I have changed it, my career, my job, or to Hongik University. So I'm a professor of Hongik University right now. To be more specific, innovation, engineering, or public center. Product design, to be more specific, automobile design is what I'm specialized in, which means that I am very sensitive to the current trend. I'm teaching students at university, but today I'm going to talk about something which is not familiar to you, which is additive manufacturing, how to creatively use the tool. Then what is additive manufacturing? And I'm going to show you 4 cases which I have experienced myself personally. So that's going to be very raw. But I believe that you will find it interesting, especially those people who study or teach design. In the future, we need to think of the environment in the domain of education and policies and all the others, but we can do many things at the personal level. I do not enjoy this kind of seminar 100% because over the 17 years I have been in the printing industry. However, one of the 3D printing, additive manufacturing, is the main topic. But this is the first time for me to deliver this kind of a presentation, which means that over the 17 years, I haven't been given this kind of chance. I just skipped the agenda. As I said, I'm going to talk about additive manufacturing, how it can lead to sustainability or support increase sustainability, or enhance it rather. There are many different technological elements for the fourth industrial revolution, and one of them is 3D printing. 3D printing is based on the digital data, and which means that we need to have a wireless internet, and digital modeling and design are required. So out of all the technical elements, 3D is a kind of tool or machine which is unique out of all the other elements. And we have AI robots which can produce the products that we use in our daily life. So these are the technical elements of fourth industrial revolution, as I said. As for the additive manufacturing, you produce materials layer by layer. And the tool is a printer, and software is required to do the design. Once the modeling is done, we can turn the idea into reality. In the past, we had rapid prototyping. So we came up with a very rapid prototype using 3D printing. But years ago, we started to use the new term additive manufacturing. So now we use a 3D printing to manufacture a product. But among the general public, you may find that 3D printing is more familiar. But in the industrial term, it is a additive manufacturing. Since the product that they produce has 3 dimensions, we need to have design for additive manufacturing because the 3D printing produces the materials in 3 dimensions. So pretty simple, this is what we produce. Let's say that we have different parts that are combined together to create one single part for a machine. But right now, using the 3D, we can make it in a single unit without requiring different parts. And these are the processes that have been advanced. In the past, we had formative manufacturing, which led to many tooling waste during the process. But going through the subtractive manufacturing, we are now at the stage of additive manufacturing, which enables material conservation. So these are the parts where the 3D printing will be used. And technology-wise, we have 7 types, but in more details, we have 17 or 18 different technologies for 3D printing. Then, what are the features of the 3D printing? You can manufacture complex materials in the right amount that you need. And whatever shape that you want, you can make it. And you can make it just one of them or many of them. And it can reduce the material waste that are produced along the process. And you can replicate and as many times as possible. And once you utilize the 3D printing, the design industry will prosper. And what about the paradigms? Let's move on to the paradigm. When we design the product, we use the mold system for the mass production. That is why there was a limit in doing some design. We should know the mold in order to create the product that can be produced in the end. But there is no more such a limitation because we have a 3D printing. Molding is not required, and whatever shape that you want to create, it can be created using the 3D printing. Whenever I teach students, we try to create the things that were not possible to make using the mold or other traditional system. These are the examples that we have created using the 3D printing. Using AI, we do the designing, which means that minimum material is used. And I believe that it's going to be widely used in the design industry in the future. So looking at it, you will understand what I'm talking about. And using the additive manufacturing, you can create these objects, which means that your design is not limited by the conservative or traditional approach. A very new shape can be designed and produced. In the past, whenever you are given an assignment, you might have to spend hundreds of hours designing, but it's going to shorten to only a couple of hours using AI. It can be even applied to the art. These are the examples. This is what you will see in the future. It will be applied to the production of shoes, as you see here. In the past, it was just image. Now we turn that image into reality using the 3D printing. Technology-wise, I'm not going to go deep into that, but I just want to share some cases. And AI-based design will be more widely used. Why? Because the optimal modeling can be identified using AI. So with the help of AI, we can design efficiently, and then it can lead to a material conservation. But the final decision will be made by the humans. So these kind of products will be introduced into the market, and you are going to use it in your daily life. And now I'm going to show you the creative ways of using 3D printing, but the details will be in the booklet. So please refer to it for the detailed information. One of the examples is a Korean company which make toys without any waste. They share the software to make these toys without any waste, and more than 6 million downloads are made across the world. That means that there are many people who download this file and use it to produce the toys without any waste production. Well, once you make a certain toys, you may have a certain waste in the end, but this does not produce any waste. Once you have a good job of doing the design and come up with the different items, you will come up with a very good item or killer item, hot one. So these are the ones which are very popular, which is affordable to the market at a very good price. If you use a mold device, you have the waste. The tooling process have a byproduct like this one. So these are the byproducts or waste that are produced during the process of toy manufacturing. And it may hurt kids when they make the toys using it. So let me have a look at the video, how the 3D printing is used. There is no scaffold required in the process. As you see here, no scaffold is required. And once you just assemble that or fold it, you can create a robot right away. So no waste is created during the process. And I believe that this is a mindset that we need to adopt for the future. You can make it very pretty. What is more important is minimizing the waste and using the least amount of the resources. But this is more difficult than you think. How many efforts do you think this person has done in order to produce this kind of product? As you see here, this is waste-free toy, and this can be recycled. And I think that this delivers a very strong message, which means that as a designer, we have to design the product that produces no waste. The second is the exhibition that I have held. Dak Bandakouzi is a very famous, well-known industrial designer. He uses the waste of the refrigerator and turn it into furniture. There was a display or exhibition that he did, and per year 4,000 chairs are distributed across the world. As you see here, these are the chairs produced by using the waste plastics. What about in Korea? We try to just make it small pieces. When you just dice it, it has less recyclability. Even though you have a very big chunk of the waste, you can create it into furniture like this. So this designer has a very creative mindset of turning the big chunks of the plastic into the furniture. These are the lightings that he designed. I have purchased 5 or 6 items which are put on permanent exhibition. As you see here, this is inspired by the lighthouse and created by using waste. Okay, this is a furniture which is produced in 4 hours. Very fast. So once you have innovative ideas, you can turn ideas into reality quite quickly. And another items that you may create using 3D printing. This is a speaker. I have one of them. This is quite big and weighs 60 kilos, and it amplifies the sound so well. And these are some of the ways we can turn waste into something valuable. Ilio is another example. And what they have done is this. In Germany, the powdered waste accumulates. There is a huge amount of powder waste. But once you apply the currency, it will generate the heat, and going through the filament, they may stuck into the filament. And you apply the currency for a very short period of time. And once you apply it, you can have this kind of product created. We held a workshop to teach how to make it. As for this kind of wire, it's very expensive, but it's thrown away as a waste. 1.5 tons of it is thrown away or disposed of per year. So some people decided to use this as a waste, use this waste and turn it into something valuable. And 3D printing gallery is what I run and try to deliver the ideas how it is well used. 3D printing will deliver the message for the environmental conservation. And that's why I run this studio to deliver this message. All the waste can be turned into artistic pieces or something useful in our daily life. It may have more values. And even though we use the waste to produce this kind of products, they look artistic and valuable. Another case is where the 3D printing is used to produce the product based on the order. So only the small amount of the product is used for those people who order it. One of the examples are glasses. So this is the customized glasses produced based on the demand. The 3D printing will be used to use the minimum amount of the materials to produce the product in the right quantity, which is demanded by the consumers. All these processes will enable us to reduce the material waste. So in conclusion, as a designer and people who are in the creative industry, think of the local resources or waste that you have access to and try to come up with ideas to turn them into the product that we can use. What is important is that we can practice in our daily life. I believe that you can find some ideas in Jeju too. Thank you. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening. Thank you. I'm the next presenter.
I believe what we require from, what we want to get from design is changing. So today people requires design industry to give life to something instead of making something new. So my topic is design that raises probing questions, bringing together the environment, people, and design. This is Jeju that I love. I am a value creator who makes invisible services visible through design. I used to be a traditional designer, but I realized that I am creating a lot of beautiful waste. I still love beautiful things, but still now I have become a service designer to reduce waste. And smart city, autonomous vehicles, all these areas are now I am focusing on. What is service design? It's been 10 years in Korea to be developed. What is the most important for service design? The consumer engagement, consumer participation is the most important one. Interaction between the service providers and customers is very important. Design can start from a dialogue with citizens about potential power of public services. How's your life in Jeju? Do you like Jeju? Then what is the most important for you? So these are my questions today, and I also have some cases and examples. This is the Kala Sata project from Helsinki in Finland. I love this project because this is about smart city. They talk about people rather than technology for our future. They value people rather than technology. Their idea is to save 1 hour every day for citizens. The small port city is changing. How? With people's participation. Residents can take a walk and take more time to spend more time with family. That is why I asked you, what is the most important thing for you as a Jeju resident? This project is actually a living lab with residents' participation, and I also want Jeju to have the same experience. How about the result? The biggest result is the self-driving electric shuttle bus to save time, and prototype has been introduced in reality. The must has all these services are connected using mobile app. Helsinki Energy Challenge is also part of this project as a policy. And this is something I really want to benchmark. A city without garbage truck and trash cans. This is how it works. They have a new waste process system. They built underground vacuum tube. So all the waste is accumulated under the ground. And they also have a really good separate collection system. 5 different types of wastes are separated. And they have waste cards. By tagging the card, the device measures the weight of and charges users. So of course we Jeju residents also have a waste card, but what's important here is the citizens' participation and engagement. So the same thing for wind power. Library free of charge for every resident, and the shared refrigerator. These are the ideas created by residents. The residents join the discussion without being paid. With this catchphrase, saving 1 hour for everyone every day has generated a lot of good results. Next city is France. They asked a fundamental question. How about our housing, our mobility? How do you work? Our healthcare, education, and food culture? So these are the questions that citizens discuss on. I love France, but what's more important is that we separate the different waste and recycle them, but it takes a lot of time. We have policymakers, and they can build some law, pass some law that can also encourage us to practice the rules, but this is the top-down approach, but we can also adopt bottom-up approach, which means residents and citizens can also share their ideas with policymakers. And Spain and Denmark also have similar movement, and this is a example from Canada. They have a lot of wildlife, so they cannot have the waste on the ground. So they have their own center, waste center. The purpose is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from food waste in landfill to change their villages little by little. This is the case of Korea. It is a good example for public participation. It is a city called Jeju. The village has a lot of elderly citizens who are supported by the government. And as you can see from the picture, a lot of elderly citizens come together at the center. And for them, what's important is their health, their nutrition, and exercise. So they got this idea to create a place for them so that they can work out together, cook some food together, and get some pleasure time. This is a good example, another good example as well. My final question is this. What is the most important thing for Jeju people? And what residents can do is working on living lab. I hope Jeju can have a living lab project. Thank you. Thank you for your impressive presentation. Thank you. So we will start discussion. We have our moderator, Professor Lee In-ho from Jeju International University, and we have our panelists, Professor Lee Sung-ho, Professor Choi Sung-kwon, and CEO Lee Kyung-mi, Manager Lee In-sung from Greenpeace. I will also be part of them. So let's get started.
네,
Thank you for your wonderful presentations. I believe that we are given only 15 minutes for discussion. We have to be very concise. And as for the presentations, you have heard of them. So let's move on to the discussion right away. We have Dr. Lee, and I'm going to hand over microphone to you so that you can hit your point. And the moderator is very interested in this topic, so I'm going to hand over microphone to you too. So shall I have my talk first? Okay, before Tyler goes. My topic will be rather interesting, I believe. When we have a look at the economy out of first, second, and third revolution, I believe the third industry is dominating Jeju. It is still expanding. As for the first and second industry, it was the main industries, but it has been transformed into the third and fourth. Farmers and the fishermen, or the economic benefit comes to or go to the Jeju people. But the third industry, the airplane, duty-free shops, and hotels, the businesses, they just garner the money, but it's not distributed to those people living in Jeju. So from decades ago, we tried to raise the competitiveness of the first and second industry at par with the third industry or tertiary industry. As for the tertiary industry, it's vulnerable to the impact from external sources. What happened when Chinese do not come to us anymore? Which means that we have to grow the first and second industry further for the future. From 2003, the Korean government set up the design center. It was around 2010 that we started to set up a design center in Jeju. What does it mean? We have a Jeju Business Agency, Jeju Technopark, and we have different organizations that are involved in the design industry. It's not integrated, which is required for the further development. So back in 2010, we set up a design center which attracted an investment of like 30 billion won. But we didn't set up the design center here. Why? Because we just lag behind and other provinces set up the design centers. Up to 2010, we have achieved a certain development, but we have hit the stagnation in terms of a design industry. Why do I talk about this? The design and branding are the key drivers of the design industry, but we do not have the industry fully developed. If we fully brand even the agricultural product, we can get more profit out of that. So this is the right time for us to develop it even more. And Jeju Business Agency, I hope that you can expand the design industry after integrating first and foremost. And what I think of right now is the design in the daily life. When you say design, you may think that this is something very sophisticated, which requires support from the government. But design involves 3D printing and the environment. What is most uncomfortable living in Jeju? Once you order, it's going to take a lot of time to get delivered, and the delivery fee is very expensive. Once you order some furniture, the delivery cost is more expensive than the actual cost, which means that we need to have all the products produced on Jeju, and we can produce it and consume it on Jeju. This can advance the competitiveness of the design industry in Jeju. And upcycling and recycling, they should be put in place too. As for Jeju Island, we have to go ahead of others. Up to now, we understand that they are important, but the policies hasn't provided all the support. But I believe that Jeju Business Agency will start to provide the full support so that we can realize what we have dreamed of. Thank you so much for keeping the time. And I'm going to hand over the microphone to our moderator, Tyler, and he can share his ideas and opinions with us today.
네, 제가 사실 이제
So from the presentations and comments, I learned a lot. And I'd like to share some of my insights that I felt. So we are connecting design and environment. What is important is creativity and communication. Both things are really important by connecting design and the environment. Without even one of them, we cannot design the right thing for our daily life, because communication can result in policies for the environment, and with creative thinking and idea, we can have good products being manufactured as well. We need to make a new start. This is not an easy job. So we have taken for granted the previous system, but now we should understand that the traditional way is not the answer. Jeju has invested a lot in renewables, but as it was mentioned earlier, we are not actually fully utilizing the renewables. In many cases, the wind power is stopped because of surplus energy. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Because the policy puts the priority on fossil fuel. So you should first burn all the fossil fuel. And if you have more demand after using all the fossil fuel, that's time for renewables. So the design of policy is not right now. The design that we are talking about, the concept should become broader. So it can also be about the design of policies, the benefit, environmental benefit of Jeju is a selling point. So in order to fully utilize these benefit, we should also focus on visible things. I'm from Bond, which is in the northeast side of the US. Most of the income come from visitors and travelers because we have really good environmental environments to keep this nature safe. We have to cap on the number of population, and we also have some ban on increasing the number of signs on the road. But when I first visited the Jeju Island, I was surprised to see so many lights. And Jeju is one of the UNESCO island, but I was very frustrated by a lot of signs and lightning signs especially. So far, Jeju has focused on rapid economic growth and manufacturing, but it's time for Jeju to take a leap forward toward another direction. So we need to have a creative thinking. We need to design Jeju in a new way, and we need to have a different policy approach for renewables. This can be a very important part for Jeju's prosperity for the future. Thank you for your impressive comments. It was really a good point. That was the weak point of Jeju Island. I really enjoyed the discussions. We originally planned a very interesting discussion session, but because of the time restriction, it's unfortunate that we cannot have the full discussion. You can refer to the booklet. You can see the picture with the river upside down, which is also good insight for us. As for the wind power, this is also a problem of policy, but another problem is the landscape. We have a lot of discussions over building new wind power in a smaller island around the Jeju Island, and we need to build wind power, but that can harm the visual aspects of the landscape. So many ideas have been shared today at this session. I think this would be a great starting point. Our slogan for the council is the Jeju Island where both nature and people are happy. It is important to understand the environment of Jeju Island and enjoy the environment to make Jeju sustainable. I think this can be the conclusion of our session today. Thank you everyone, our panelist, moderator, and presenter. We still have a few minutes Then I will hand over the microphone to Tyler to have a short Q&A session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone in the room. This concludes the discussion session. Thank you.
As I said, we will get a couple of questions from the floor. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Would you please designate the person who will answer your question? Hand over the microphone to him. Yes, I'm living in Jeju. We have a lot of waste, especially the coffee cups. And we have also a lot of plastic bottles waste in Korea. How can we recycle it? We need some ideas for that. My name is Kang Dong-gun. I'm disabled. Would you please designate somebody who can answer your question? As for the material, I think this is PTE. Is it PTE? I guess so. As for the material, we can recycle it. It's like a refrigerator. You can use it for the 3D printing as a source materials. So I believe we can use it to make a valuable product. And I will give you detailed information later on in person. Thank you.
Professor Lee Sang-ho, early this year, I moved to Jeju Island. Welcome. I have two issues. First, too much development. I didn't really know as a traveler, but as a resident now, I can see a lot of buildings are being built in Jungmun. And you can see there are a lot of smaller houses, and then Seogwipo, there are many buildings that are empty. So I believe it is important to fully utilize those empty buildings rather than having new ones. And the second one is related to the first question. As I walk around Jeju Island, I cannot see trash can. Of course, not all people throw out their trash, but there are still some people who just throw away their trash on the roads. So we can design a trash can that is specific to Jeju, Dolharebang. When I lived in Seoul, I saw a similar situation without a trash can. Many people just drove away trash on the road and anywhere, but with a new trash bin, this issue has been solved. As for the trash can, I'm not the officer in charge in the city hall. I can tell those officials. But as for design, we can first design the system itself. And as for the that system, the product, the trash can design itself, we can talk a little bit more about it. And as for the development, population on this island has increased by 100,000. This is a very large number. That is why we have had a lot of new buildings. Now it's time for us to start reducing those new buildings. Thank you. As for trash can, we started removing the trash cans to prevent wildfire, and you don't have any trash can in some historic places, and in parks you can see transparent trash can to prevent any possible explosion accident, and this can be a really good topic for further decision making on policies. Thank you for your great question. Can we end this session? Can we have one more question? I'm sorry, we don't have enough time because of time restriction. You can also send your question to our panelists and presenters, because as I told you, communication is important. Actually, you can utilize many different ways to communicate with the government. You can have a post on the website so that the policymakers can take a look at your idea. Please give them a big hand. And thank you everyone for joining us today. That ends our session today. And as I told you earlier, please fill out the survey, and we prepared a small gift for you. Thank you.